But Celsius came out with these bigger cans, and they have like 270 milligrams of caffeine, and that's like the highest you can get.
Is it?
Yeah. Cause I've like looked at the other cans to see which one's more, and the bigger Red Bulls.
Do they taste better?
I love the taste of this.
Okay.
But the original Red Bull is good. It's a very like distinct original taste.
I can smell them all, but I'm like, I can't drink any of them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what's the difference, guys? They're all gonna kill you someday. And
Yeah, they're not good for you.
they're not, but so is soda in large
Yeah.
quantities,
True. Very true.
which is what I do. I appreciate you indulging me. I was just curious.
Yeah, of course.
Oh no. That's not good. What is that supposed to be?
Okay, today we're gonna discuss, databases and, how they function and the various type of databases out there. In case, you end up somehow becoming a database administrator or working with large databases, so you never know, right? So we're gonna do a little discussion, so we're gonna talk, define what a database management system is. And we're gonna talk about the 5 common databases, models, hierarchical, networking, relational, multidimensional, and object-oriented. Multidimensional are mostly for large corporations. So, what do we use databases for? Let's start with you, Roper. What do we use databases for? Based on what you read in the textbooks and so forth? Yeah? You can't be told. You've been working with databases, so I know you. It's right there on the board, so what are you thinking about? I'm just like, okay. No, just read. I'm just saying, read. Reports, queries.
Employee records?
Help me out, guys. Help her.
Employee records.
Okay.
Reports. Weird. Go on. Tables.
This is a table, right? So you create a table, that's the main part of your database. And this is a server, right? So we use databases when you go into work. You use databases all the time. So manage information, simple as that, right? Organize information, manage information, store information, track information, okay? Weather reports, you wanna deal with weather, the history of weather in the United States, we can go back years, right? A lot of things that we do encounter, require the use of a database. When we do a simple Google search, right? That's using the database. Because what happens is when we do a Google search, we make our entry on a form on the web, a web page, and what it does is it goes out to various database servers throughout the world to bring back information, right? So we use it, we use it to pull out reports to give to analysts or CEOs or managers to actually help us make our organizations better, right? So that's what we're looking at reports for. We look at database reports here at the college to understand whether or not you guys are learning the material. That's a good one example. If you go into Starbucks, they may use databases, reports from the database they have to find out what flavors most of their customers like the most, right? Good morning. All right. And so let's just keep it basic. It's nothing real complicated. We want to know. And the most important part of the database to get the information is to put it in a table. The table organizes data. However, we use forms to enter the data, right? Because just like when you're filling out an application for a job online, or if you want information on real estate, for example, one simple thing, I wanted to get home warranty for my house in Florida because I don't want to pay a big expense when I have the plumbing stop working or something like that. So I pay a monthly fee. If I go out for a particular company, they have me filling out forms. First thing they have me put in, name, zip code, right? And also they want my phone number and my email address. I give them a fake phone number because I don't want them harassing me all the time. So yeah. So that's an example of a form. So we fill them out every day. So when we hear database, we should not be shocked because you have been in this class almost, 13 weeks, right? So everybody should have a clear understanding of what a database is. And when that final exam comes on, and I see you get that question wrong as to what a table is. So when you look at Excel, right? Let's look at Excel. This is an example of what a table looks like. And then we put our data in there, and we're allowed to import an Excel spreadsheet into a database spreadsheet, a database file, right? Let me take attendance real quick because they are monitoring that. Some of you have been absent, mostly the whole class, and you got to come up and speak to me afterwards because there might be issues. All right, so Mohan here is present. Megan Dunaway is here, okay. Huron is here. David is out. Tristan, okay. You can talk to me after. Okay, and Caitlin is here. James? Here. Okay. You can talk to me after. Okay. Connor? Here. Okay. Layla. Okay. Vinny? Is he on his way or something?
I think he's probably on his way.
Okay, I'll just mark him in, because he's always here most of the time. Henry?
Here.
Okay, right, gotcha. Okay, Megan Majors is here. Okay, and Donna is here, she's walking in right now, Brooklyn's here. Okay, Olivia is out. Okay. Ryan? Yep. Stream that stuff. Oh, I'll get that later. Okay. So, just so we're clear, next week is the last class, and we will be taking the final in this room, same time we meet. So if you have an issue, time, you and I already would talk, we talked already,
About,
the exam, didn't we?
no,
Did you send me an email?
sir.
Wasn't you? Oh, okay. Okay, so what's your,
I have another exam for another class at the same time. My professor said that there are times for each.
right,
slot
no,
that
but
aren't the same.
he doesn't know that this course is supposed to have the exam at this time. So
Okay.
he's a little confused. Yeah, you might wanna talk to him.
Yeah, I'll check the schedule. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, cause he can look it up, my class is a hybrid course. And he has to look up hybrid, so let him know.
I understand.
Yes. If there's a conflict, he can always let you go to the testing center.
Right.
Right, or,
Well, I'll talk to you today.
okay, let me know,
I
keep
will.
me informed, I can always help you out.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're gonna be distinguishing between the physical and the logical views of data. There's sometimes data comes at you in the form of all kinds of, in different forms. And some of them are zeros and ones and some are just numbers and letters that you're not able to make heads or tail out of, but they're data. But to get them into the correct form, you have to actually put them in a database or run a query or, you know, Layla, what is a query? Exactly. And a question you might want to ask your database. She said a request. That's correct. That is correct. So a query is a request or a question that you ask the database. And that's why, because sometimes database has millions and millions of records. So in order for us to extract what we need out of it, we have to run a query. Okay? So that's the deal. All right, so let's see here. So we have storage. Do we have the ability to store records in a database? So we work with fields, records, and tables. This is a table. Within the table, we have various field names. Because when I was working at the Department of Environmental Protection, they asked me, they told me, we need a database. And I said, okay, what for? They said, well, we need to track this, this, and this. So they wanted to track various types of information, right? They wanted to track E. coli levels in the water, any contaminants that might be in the water, how many violations maybe boaters may have, because you're not supposed to put motorized vehicles on the watersheds throughout New York. You can't put them on, because obviously you don't want oil in your drinking water, right? Or bird poop, for one thing, because it happens. So they used to do things weird, like do explosions so that the birds would not feel comfortable in that water area. They would do like simulated explosions, controlled explosions. They tried various things, and they talked about it. And most of the time, the birds love the water, fresh water. So, but we clean the water with a little chlorine and stuff like that, fluoride, I guess. I don't know how good that stuff is for you, but hey, you gotta do something, right? In fact, I bought myself a water tester. So when I'm in like a restaurant, I can actually test the water to see the levels of contamination. Because a lot of times restaurants tell you the water's filtered, but it's really not. So, but anyway, so this is the nucleus. This is the most important part of the database. Then you have the field names, okay? And then you have records. The records are the various rows. All tables work like that. The various records are the rows, and that's where each individual component is stored. You might have like a telephone book. You might have names, addresses, state and zip code, and then you have for each person. So the name, the first name, the last name, for contact customer number 1, customer number 2, name, last name, first name, last name, and what have you, and we do that. That's what we do. So, a lot of you, how many of you did 13, lab 13? Okay, yes, that's right. So, I just want to make sure, it's before I explain this, okay? So, typically, when we work with databases, when you do lab 13, we work in design view. And we give the table a name. I'll say contact. You can follow along with me if you want to, so that when you get to this lab, you'll pretty much know. The lab already will have certain information in it, like the contacts and I think pet name. Okay, so I can create another one. Create table, and I'm gonna call this one pet name, just because it's what's there in your lab. Okay, rename. I want to go in contact and I want to go in design view. And here is where you input the information. Last name. It doesn't have to be separate, and then what type of data are you collecting would go here. And then a description of the field name would go here, like captures names. That's good programming practice. Anytime you are writing a program, you have to define what that element's gonna do for you, or what that command is gonna do, because you might get another program coming in. So first name, bless you, first name. And then, of course, the same thing, it captures the first name. Captures first name. Okay, contacts. Okay, so address. This is gonna help you, so just pay attention to this one now. I don't have to put any descriptions anymore, I don't want to. So this is the address, and it's gonna have 255 characters, capable of handling 255 characters. Pay close attention to that. Now, city, I'm not gonna do anything with that yet. Okay, state. How many characters are we gonna use for state? I think not exactly. So I'm glad somebody's paying attention. So 2, and zip code, city, state. Now zip. Zip, we're gonna do something different, and zip code and phone number, we're gonna do something different. Phone number. Remember, you always work in design view. It's the best way to do this. Now, state, we said it's 2 digits. When you click on that. Zip code, we're gonna do, what are we gonna do down here for zip code? Actually, but we're gonna do something that automatically puts it for the number that we want. So if you go down and you click on, first you click on zip code, the zip code record, then you go down to masking, input mask, right here. You click on that row, there are 3 dots that will appear on the right. So what you do is you click on that. I figured it's best that we actually work on that. See what appears when I do that? We're working with zip code. So we want anybody who inputs this information not to make errors, right? We call that database normalization. Okay? So how do we ensure that they won't put the wrong amount of numbers or the incorrect information in there? We make sure we do a masking, input mask, and we use the input mask. Pretty much you can just click finish, but just for the kicks and giggles, I'll just click next. And then you can see, is this the format you want? That's what it's asking. And then you can click next again. And without the symbols, I'm gonna say put the symbol, with the symbols. Click next, and then click finish. So any data that's inputted in that field will always be in the correct format, have the correct format. Okay, we do the same thing for phone number, right? We click down, input mask, click on the 3 dots. Yes, you must save the table. Click the phone number. Right there, that's the format we want. Click next, click next. And I don't know why it's defaulting to without the symbols, that's strange. Without the symbol. With the symbols in the mask like this, yeah, that's what we want, the symbols in the mask. I just click finish, right? That's good. Now, when I change my view, data sheet view, yes, it's always asking you to save the table. You don't have to save the database file, but because you do that when you first open it, but you have to save your tables. Now, I'm gonna just enter some records. Normally, we would have a form for that, right? So I'm gonna enter W-A-T-E-R, Waterman. And then I'm gonna say Harold. And then I'm gonna put 1313 Mockingbird Lane. Permanent monsters. Okay, okay, city, Transylvania. And then I'll put state, PA. And then I'm gonna put zip code. 20769. And normally it would put the rest of the zip code for you, but nevertheless, you can even eliminate the dash if you want to. So I'm gonna put 301, 555 1212. Okay. You see, it automatically puts the form there. Okay, so that's that. It automatically puts it there. And to create a form, Vinny, how would I create a form?
Create that and
That's right.
it's right there.
And most of the time, it's easier if you do a form wizard, right? So I see you paying attention. So to create a form, I just did form wizard, and yes, I want all the fields to go over, so I'll click number 2. And then I'll click finish. So this is where most data gets entered when you go to a website or anything like that, right? So now we have a form. I don't need the form for now, but I just wanted to show you how that's done. So the next, I think, I'm gonna require Mohan, you to give me the information we need for this one, for the pet table. As you remember it, when the pet table, what were the categories?
I did this in like March, I don't remember.
Okay, so, anybody? Pet?
The ID, and then the
Well,
name.
the ID is normal.
The name.
The name, pet name. Okay, it doesn't have to say pet name, just name. Oh.
No, they
what?
wanted pet name and then the owner's name.
Yes, pet name, thank you. And then, what,
Birthday, owner's name, birthday,
owner's name?
I think.
It's not in ours, but we'll just say that's what we need, okay? Owner's name. Breed. Remember that one there, Mohan? Breed?
Yeah.
Sex?
Type of animal.
Type of animal, yeah.
Yep, type of animal. Type of animal. Because we're gonna do a lookup wizard for this, and this is what you have to do for the final project. Project lab 13. Okay, and sex.
Birthday.
Yeah, birthday. Very good. That should be enough, right?
It also has notes.
It has what?
Notes.
Okay, notes. Beautiful, beautiful, because if anything happens to the dog, you want to be able to keep notes. And at the bottom, what kind of a field would this be?
Long text.
A long text, because we have to be able to type long paragraphs in that field. So that's a very good one. Beautiful. Right on time. Okay. Now, pet name is okay. Owner's name is okay. Breed is okay. Type of animals, okay. Now, sex. Well, type of animal, we can put a list there. Okay, for type of animal, we're gonna have to use what we call a lookup wizard. I will type in the values. Very important, guys. Okay, lookup wizard, I will type in the values. So, what type of animal? Give me some types of animals.
Cat.
Cats. A cat. I'll just say cat. I won't say plural. What else?
Dog.
Dog. How about bird?
Rabbit.
Rabbit. I'm thinking of all the animals that, say, veterinarians would see. Give me another one.
Snake.
Snakes. Absolutely. Lizards. Remember, they like those iguanas.
Not in Florida.
Bearded dragon.
No, not in Florida. You got that right. They're all over the place. You can't get rid of them. They're actually eating them now.
My daughter was like, if we catch one, can we keep it?
I don't even know how to spell iguana. I forgot. Iguana. G.
IGUANA.
Yeah, I guess that's it. All right, iguana.
Hamster.
What else?
Hamster.
Hamster. Oh,
Rogans.
yeah. I had one of those growing up. Oh man, gerbils.
Guinea pigs. Ferrets.
Gerbil. I put that under birds. Gerbil. Oh, we could have actually put rodent
Yeah.
for the
Instead of
category.
rabbit.
Birds, rodent. But we'll put type of animal. So that's, are we using type of animal? Yeah, I think we are. Okay. So we put next, and then limit to list, or we can actually add more, allow multiple values. Okay, I can do that if I want to, but I'm gonna click finish. Okay, for this one, the same thing. Sex, male or female. So we do a lookup wizard. And I will type the values. Male. And then I'll put female. And then I click next. And then finish. Limit to the list. Okay, fine. Birthday. What do we use for birthday? The same thing we use for phone numbers?
Date and time.
Yeah, okay, so it's input mask, right? So we click on the input mask, click on here, yes, we wanna save the table, and short date. I select short date, next, and then click finish. I think that's pretty much it. If we have various types of breeds, I don't know. I think it's better if we just leave that alone for now, because there may be breeds that might, you know. So now, you guys are very familiar with how this works. So now, when you go to type of animal, you see what comes up? A drop-down list from which you can select the different types of animal. Then, if we go to sex, we can choose male or female. Birthday, it's already formatted. Does everybody get this stuff? Pretty much? All right, so you should have no problem with Lab 13. I just thought I'd get that in for you. And if we finish early, maybe you can start working on whatever labs you're not finished with. Okay, so. Okay, so, all right. So data, what is data? People, places, things, and events. It can be audio, music, video, photography, like images. All of those can be kept on a database. Caitlin, what kind of a database would hold music, videos, and stuff like that? Give me an example of one, that's all I'm saying. That's used widely, and it's probably an app on your phone, if you have an iPhone.
Oh, like Apple Music?
Absolutely. Apple Music is a database. It has audio, it has music, and it has video. If you go to Apple Music, you can look at videos on Apple Music. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're almost there. So, the two ways to view data is physical view, which focuses on the actual format and location of the data. The maps that you have in your car. You know, when you have to go somewhere and you put in your address, it has it stored in a database. You put in the address where you're going, like Waze. Waze has a database. It's a big database file. Waze stores all the locations, right? And then you have logical view, which focuses on the meaning, content, and context of the data, right? I always draw these drums, but what does these drums contain? Okay? Here's a HR database, and it's all, the example. This is an HR database, and it has payroll, it has the benefits tables, your benefits, and it also can contain your retirement information, right? So it contains a lot of information. So we have the character, which is maybe one character, one letter in the field, and then you have the field, which is the field name. You have the record for each individual, 1, 2, 3 is the record, and then you have the overall table. So, yeah, these are the records. Field. Okay? And one character would be the character, but we don't pay attention to that. So we are all right. Unless you program it. You have to define how many characters are in a field. That's what we did, right? When I created my database, I defined how many characters. Huron said 2 characters for the date, for the state, and that was correct, right? Because you want to save space and you want to make sure your database is more efficient, and also you want to normalize the database, right? And we always have what we call a primary field. Now, I would say the majority of you got this wrong on your lab when I asked you about the orders table, the question about the orders table, and I think it was, what was the other table? It was 2 tables. One had a primary field, but the other did not. The primary field is the way in which you distinguish individual records. It is a unique identifier. That's what the primary key is. Okay, a unique identifier that establishes who you are in this particular database. Okay, so Vinny, I like big money. What is would be a primary field in, say, a motor vehicles database? You can help. You don't know?
Wait, what was the question?
The primary field, the primary key in a motor vehicles database. I know you have the answers. What would be the primary key? How would they look you up?
Vehicle number, VIN number.
Yeah.
VIN number. That's one of them. I say more importantly.
The license plate.
Thank you. Well, that's also your license, right? Or license plate. So you have the VIN numbers for the type of vehicle you're driving. You can have multiple
I
vehicles.
don't know, it's real ID now, so maybe.
Right. Oh, the real ID, right. The real ID is coming down the pipes. You guys are not gonna be able to, I'm glad you mentioned that. We're not gonna be able to travel without a real ID. It just has, let me look at mine.
Black star.
Yes, it just has a star. That's the difference.
I don't know, I don't have a real ID.
You don't have one?
And I just got mine.
Shame
renewed.
on you.
I just got mine renewed too.
Yeah, it has a star. Mine just has a little,
So you have to get a new one?
eventually.
You have to have like your
Did
social
it-
security card, but if you lost your social security card.
Yeah, they give you an option, I believe,
Oh,
yeah.
But it says not real ID purposes. But guess what? I have a military ID and that's a catch-all.
So you might wanna check that.
See, you have real ID.
Yeah, you have real ID. So you won't have any problem traveling.
I won't either, but I
Yeah.
have a different ID.
Yeah, well, cause you have, well,
I have military.
yeah, you have military.
Those are harder to get.
But I believe you can use your passport in lieu of real ID.
I don't have
Cause the passport is number 1.
You're gonna need to.
Why would I have passport?
You're married to a military, you could end up in France or Germany.
Yeah, but we get them for free if we go through the military. So we gotta wait for orders.
That's a black star.
Oh,
I
okay.
have an old passport from when we went to Japan, but it's a military passport.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different type, it's not a travel passport.
Oh,
They
okay.
look the same, but they're different.
Ah, okay.
I'm not paying the money for a passport unless I know I'm going.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
We didn't travel outside of Japan. That was enough.
okay. Well, you guys get a little more freedom than most of us.
I don't
We'll
know
just
if
say
we
that.
call that freedom. We get moved at the drop of a hat.
So, the big thing about a database is it does batch processing. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to show you. Some of you, I don't know how many of you did lab. I'm gonna have to put some multiple records on there, but I'm gonna show you one other thing. Lab 12, was that the query lab? Where you had to query? Yeah, I think multiple records, things like that, okay. All right, so let me go to my form. And I'm gonna put, now I'm gonna create a form for pets. How about that? So I click on pets, and I click create form wizard. And I'll put all the pets names in there, and then I'm sorry, the pets field names. And then I click finish, so we have that. Now I'm gonna put pet name Queenie, because that was the name of my dog. German Shepherd. Owner's name, Harold. German Shepherd.
No.
I want to show you guys how to query. Type of animal, dog, okay? You like how that form works, right, with the drop-down menus? Isn't that nice? It was female, Queenie. Date of birth, I wish this was easy. Okay. 03/1/31 1980. Okay. Sheds a lot. All right. Then I'm gonna put one more record. And how you put in a new record is you click on this star, a new blank record, and I'm gonna put pet name, Georgie. And this was a real pet name because it was my parrot, my macaw. Owner's name, Harold. Breed, macaw. So with that, we don't have to mention what the name of an animal is, because we have breed, macaw. Okay, type of animal, bird. And bird, okay. And then sex, it was a male. And I didn't know his birthday, but I'll guess. 03/16 1990. They live a long time. Used to pluck its feathers. Plucks feathers. It was a feather plucker. Okay. And new record, one more record. Okay. I'm gonna say pet's name is Hannah. Owner, Josh. Breed. Breed.
Python.
Huh? Python. There we go. I was gonna say penguin, but I'm glad you got a better one. Python. Believe it or not, some people have pet penguins. Crazy. Snake. And we'll say it's a male. I shouldn't have to click on, it shouldn't have to click in a certain spot, but I'm going 07/16/2024. Very slippery. All right, and then I guess that's it. I think this is enough for us to do a query. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna say create, and I'm gonna say query wizard, click OK, and I'm gonna put all of them there, and I'm gonna click finish. Now if I go in design view, go to home, and then go into design view, this is what you're gonna have to do for lab 12. I don't know how many you've done it. But okay, so sex. If I type male, and I click run, what do you think it's gonna do? Henry,
So yeah,
if I type mail as a criteria and click run, what is it gonna do? Remember, this is a query. Query is a question, right?
yeah. It's gonna say true or false.
No. Okay. What is it showing me? How many mails were in the database?
Oh, two.
Yes. So that's how queries work. You got that? This is what we use queries for. This is a real life examples of what queries are used for. Okay? All right. So if you had a billion records and you needed to pull out just all the males or all the females, this is how you do it. You run a query. All right? And if any of you take the database management course next semester, you'll be doing more than just queries. You'll be doing a lot more advanced stuff with databases. That's usually the course that people take when they want to become a database administrator, or they want a good elective that will transfer to a major university. Okay, so here's what we got so far. We talked about the way, see here. The way the database processes information. Okay, so it processes the information in real time. Amazon.com, good example, right? It tells you the price of the item. You gotta determine how many pairs you want, or shoes, if you want shoes, and the type of shoes you want. All of that's being stored. And data is collected over a period of time, and the processing happens later, all at once. At the end of the day, when like you're a payroll, basically you're a cashier for a company, you have to do batch processing at the end of the day, and if your drawer is short of money, you're gonna be scrutinized, and they're gonna be looking at you, and they're gonna say, uh-oh, we gotta fire this person. This person's skimming off the top. You know how many cases I heard about? And I look at these investigation YouTube, and these people work for a company, and they put money in their pocket, but the camera catches them. I don't know why they don't know that. A lady at Walmart did that. She was taking money, she was a cashier, and she was taking like thousands of dollars. Didn't think, she probably thought it was too much, because every time they come up short, they don't always say anything, but they're monitoring. That comes out in, we talked about MIS reports last week, was it? Was it last week? Or, yeah, I think we did talk about MIS reports and stuff like that, management. That would be an exception. If the draw is short, that's an exception. So management's gonna pay close attention to exceptions, right? So when you're doing this database, at the end of the day, your draw must equal the amount that were purchased. So they look for that. My wife used to work at a shoe store, and she had to prove at the end of the day, I had to sit there and wait for her. If a drawer was short, she had to find that money somehow and see where it was. Sometimes bills would be stuck together, things like that. So all of those things people look at. So credit activity, okay, you use your credit card to make several purchases throughout the month, and then the credit card company records you and all the your purchases. And then once a month, the credit card company produces a statement, all right? So that's what they do. Just like your bank, you have a bank statement with all of your credits and debits and what you spent your money on and stuff like that. I have, Navy Federal has a good thing where you can just get an email every time money comes out your account. I love that. Isn't that good?
I get a notification.
That's right. That's important. That is very important. Because if you don't get that you get that notification, you say, wait a minute, I didn't buy anything. Then you get to look and you say, oh, okay, well, I recognize this. But if you don't recognize it, you can call them right away and let them know that this is not your charge. Okay. So there's a checking account table. There's various types of database tables, and this is what we're showing you. ATM dispenses $200. We talked about ATMs last week. Sometimes they distribute more money than you request. Oh, that could be a problem. But yeah. So they can check and see how much your balance is before you're able to you can look at your balance before you're able to take out money, so you can say, oh, I don't have enough. Something must have come in to my account that made my account negative balance or short. So you gotta look at all those things. All right. So database overview, what it does, it collects data, logically related fields, like for example, we're looking at a customer table. Logically related fields would be the name, address, phone numbers, telephone number, zip code, email address. And if we added an email address, let me see, there used to be, let's look at the database, contacts, and I'm going to the design view. Excuse me. No, not from there, okay. Here, now we can go in home and then the design view. Oh, I have more than one open, that's what it's telling me, okay. So I'm in design view and I'm gonna put email address. So I would choose what? Hyperlink, right? Because I would want to click on it and it open up my email program. What happened here? All right. So now let me go to my table view. So email address, H. Waterman at gmail.com. Okay. Now let's look at the form view. Go back. Okay, so this is record number 1. Oh, I have to add it in my form. So in the form, you have to add that field. I just drag this down, and then I double click on email address, and I'm just dragging it right down here. Make sure it lines up, and then I can close that. Yes, I want to save that. Now when I go into contacts, you see that email address is right there, and I can click on it, boom, and it says, what do you want to open? I'll open Outlook, always. And so, if you want to email the client, you have the ability to email the client, right? Okay. And sometimes you have to set up your email address, your email information, your email software information. So like if you're using Outlook, you might have to set that up. Okay? So that's how that works. So I was able to set that up. Well, I was able to show you guys that. So in case you want to create your own database with your own customers and clients, you can do that. All right, so database management system, which is Access. It's software that enables you to create, modify, gain access to data. You know what it helps the guys if you read the textbook before you come to class? I'm talking about any college class you may be taking, because then you can go with the flow, okay? So a database management engine, what it does is it bridges between logical view of the data and the physical view of the data. So you wanted to look at the table, you can look at the table, and then you can look at design view if you want to look at how the table is designed. In something like structured query language, you have a series of commands you work through, and I don't have my my laptop because I'm using it right now to record this lecture. So, but there are various applications that allow you to run structured query language, which is SQL. That's a database language that allows you to handle massive amounts of information, but it's mostly for web-based databases. For example, Amazon.com will use structured query language to keep track of purchases or customer purchases and, you know, different types of things, payments and refunds and all kinds of things. Databases are for analyzing information, and you have to maintain your database. Because if you don't, you have the old saying called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You want to make sure you get very useful information from your database. So, data manipulation, you have the, we talk about maintaining and analyzing the information that you have in order to create reports. You might want to get some funding from the government or from your state. You would look at a database and look at how many people need your product, right? Or how many people need help in some way or another. You may open up a camp for the disabled, and you can look at how many children, I'm talking about youth, maybe, and then you can do it for adults as well, but for disabled youths, you open up a camp for them, a camp that will help them with their disability. So you have to look at the numbers. You have to say to the government may give you a grant, but you have to say how many people are affected by this disability. It can be muscular dystrophy, I don't know how to pronounce that. It can be something like that. It can be all kinds of things. So you look at the data and you put the data into your proposal. You say, this is what, because they may request a request for proposal, RFP. They may send out an RFP, and you respond to that RFP with all the criteria that they ask you for. And a lot of it's in a database. You can go on the web and get the information. Okay, 20,000 kids suffer from this disease or what have you, and this is why I'm opening up this camp, and I need the funding. So that's just it. That's the way it works. So the application generates subsystems, provides tools to create data entry. What is the tool on this board that's used for data entry? What tool is used for data entry? What'd you say? No? What on this board? Which one of these are used for data entry? Forms, correct. Because we're typing in the data that we want to appear in the database. Very good. Beautiful. So these are the various database models. We have a hierarchical database, more complicated. We have a network database, meaning databases on internal to your organization, and it could be hierarchical. It's a child that has several parents, okay? Then we have relational databases. We have more than one table, but we have to connect those tables, okay? In the database, we have HR department, and then we have the accounting department. So the HR department and accounting department would be linked, right? That would be a relation. An example of a relational database. And then we have object-oriented databases. That's a database like what Caitlin mentioned earlier, the music app on the iPhone, Apple Music. That's an example of an object-oriented database. But it also, an object-oriented database also has what we call classes. Okay, and those are programming terms: classes, objects, attributes, and methods. We run those commands when we have an object-oriented database. And an example of an object-oriented database would be SQL query language, SQL. Okay, here's what a hierarchical database looks like, okay? For example, we talked about Apple Music. We have your music that's on your phone, right? And then we have the various categories. We have the various artists. We have the Beatles, we have Beyonce, we have Coldplay, we have Rolling Stones. And within that group, we have their greatest hits, parachutes, X and Y. Then under that, we have the song, clocks, speed of sound, yellow submarine would be the Beatles. Yeah, so that's how that works. A network database, most businesses have them, okay? You have the course at the top, then you have the teacher who teaches that course, and then you have the student, okay? That would be an example of a network database. Network databases are typically germane to the organization. They're within the organization. Now, we are able to tap into these databases if we use virtual technology, right? But most of the time, you don't want people to get in. The military has its internal database, and supposedly people are not allowed to get in from the outside. You have to be in the organization to have access to that type of a database. And it has a lot of sensitive information on there, which should not be on phones. A relational database, again, you connect various tables. You have employees, that's personnel database, and then you have to connect to the benefits table. Each employee has their benefits, and you can pull that information. If the employee has a question about their benefits, you have to go on the computer and you have to go into that database and extract their name plus their benefits. And that's the only way you're going to do it is if the database the tables are linked in terms of a relation. Okay, database tables are relational databases. You see, it stores the information in tables called relations. Now, here's an example of a real life example of a database relationship. Okay, so I'm going here, and I have two tables, right? I have two tables. So how do I link the tables? I go to database tools, and you see you have database analyze, you have performance, you have, what would I choose if I want to link the tables? Based on the discussion I've been having with you. Thank you. Very important. So, relationship. So now I have to either double click on both of these tables, right? Now, this is a database relationship. Now I have to connect these two. So I I just drag from here to here and say create. So I've created a connection. Now I can take data from both tables and put it on one. Okay? Okay, there's supposed to be a table. I could go in. Let's see here. Enforced? Okay, let's see. Nope, nope, nope. Do this. Boom. I don't know why the, okay, let me just close this. Close that. The relationship is here. No, okay, we go here, and then we can go into home, and then go into design view. Here we go. Now I can pull up both tables, and I can drag the pet name. Oops. Close this one. I want this one. Pet name and the pet's address. So I have pet name, pet's address. And I can put the city and state and zip code. So now, all that information will be in one location. If I go to change the view, to datasheet view, we have all that information here. Now I can create a form based on this. Create form wizard, all of this, and then click finish. So I have another form. I don't know why it has two names here. This is, okay, this is more work than necessary. Because it has two pet names in it. All right, anyway, you got the picture. So basically, I created a relationship before your very own eyes, and you were able to see how database relationships work. All right, so that's that. Multi-dimensional databases, it's a variation and an extension of the relationship model. So you have data cube. Let me see if I can show you how it looks. Okay. So conceptualization, user with an intuitive model in which complex data and relationships can be conceptualized. So these databases are a little bit more challenging to work with, but of course, if you're a database administrator, you will figure it out. Okay, it becomes very easy because all you're doing is managing data and putting data in a form where people can understand it and make sense out of it. We can analyze it and pull information, important information, from these databases. So here's another example. You have the employee, the salesperson, the accountant, the personal trainer, and then you have the attributes. Okay, where they're located, the address, and so forth. But this allows you to make sense out of what you're creating. So if you're opening up your own business and you have your business as customer related, you can create your own database and be able to store and track all the customers you have, add new customers, reach out and have your customer service people send them emails saying, look, we have this product you might be interested in, or what have you. Or if it's a small mom and pop shop, you might want to call them and say, hey, how are you doing? Or like the jewelry store does to me every day. every time it's my birthday, they'll send me an email or a text message saying happy birthday and stuff like that. Types of databases, you have ProQuest, you have Dow Jones, you have LexisNexis. LexisNexis is a legal database, keeps track of cases and court information. So you can look up cases, you can look up whether somebody has been charged with a crime on the LexisNexis database. Then we have the Dow Jones, that's more financial related type of database. Then you have ProQuest. Yep, you have all these things. Okay, so I have a short video. Skip past this.
Hey everyone, Kevin here.
What happened?
Today I want to show you how
It's a
you
30-minute
can use
video.
Microsoft Access.
That's a 30-minute
So many of you
video.
have requested
No,
this
it's not
video
gonna be 30
in the
minutes.
comments.
It's gonna be 5 minutes.
Here it
Okay.
is. Also, I wanted to do this video as well
I'm glad
because
you
I
said
kind of
that.
have a soft spot in my heart for Microsoft Access. When I first met my wife, we were both working at Microsoft at the time, and she was on the Microsoft Access team. So I really felt like I had to do this video. Now, you might be wondering, what is Microsoft Access? It's a relational database program. And as we jump into this video, we'll find out more about what that even means. But at a very high level, you can use Microsoft Access to track customers, to track orders, to track assets, and the list goes on and on of the types of things that you can use or track with a database. Now, one of the first questions you might have is, why would I use something like Access? I could just enter information into an Excel spreadsheet. Why would I ever need to use a database? I'm in Microsoft Excel here, and sure, I can track information here as well. Let's say I want to track orders for the Kevin Cookie Company. I have customer information over here on the left, and then I have the order information over on the right-hand side. So this works too, right? Well, actually, it's not really that efficient at tracking this information. Let's say that maybe Bill comes in and he really loves our cookies, so he placed another order. So I want to enter another row with his new order. So here I'll take all of his customer information, I'll paste it down here, and then I'll enter in the additional order details. Now, this is what's referred to as a flat file. There are no relationships between this data, and it's really inefficient. So here you'll see now that I've had to copy Bill's data from up here, and I've had to paste it in again. So right now I'm carrying his data twice. With a database, you don't have to do this. We could set up different tables for the customer information and a different table for the order information. Also, with an Excel spreadsheet, you're limited to just over 1 million rows of data. And so if you have more data than that, well, unfortunately, Excel won't be able to handle that. Also, if I go back to all of the order information here, if I want to extract interesting insights from this data, maybe I want to write a query, and I can do a little bit of that with Excel. I could filter the different columns, I could insert a pivot table, I could try to manipulate the data to get an interesting view, but sometimes you just need to be able to write a query and then to pull together a report. And unfortunately, that's not that easy with Excel. So that's where databases win out. All in all, Access is a fantastic tool for individuals or for small businesses that need to track things. However, if you're, let's say, a mid-sized company or even a large company, you'll probably start to realize some of the limitations of Microsoft Access. And to be totally fair, when I worked at Microsoft, I was on some teams that used Access just as a really quick and simple database. If you're a larger company, you'll probably look at other options like Oracle, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, MongoDB, and the list goes on of solutions that are more scalable. However, what I will say is Microsoft Access is a fantastic tool to learn the fundamentals of database design. To learn the fundamentals of database design, in this tutorial, we're going to build our own database today, and you're welcome to follow along.
Every time I touch the other screen.
Now, I've been meaning for a long time to create a database for the Kevin Cookie Company to track our orders, and this seems like the perfect opportunity. Yes, I did figure out a way, once again, to incorporate the Kevin Cookie Company into a video. We'll start off by creating tables. Then we'll go ahead and create an order entry form. This way, other people can come in and add data to our database. Then we'll write a query so we can extract interesting insights from our data. And then at the very end, we'll create a report so we can share some.
Okay, guys, you can look at the rest of this at home if you want to, because there's, some useful information in there. It's on this PowerPoint. You have the PowerPoint in your, on your, system. Yeah,
With our final meeting next week, is there anything to go over?
anything to go over? Yeah, you have to go over your quizzes.
Not like within a part,
Yeah, you can, mostly, you're looking at chapter 7 through, what, 14?
Do we get to bring in our little cheat sheets?
Yeah, I told you, the index card, you can,
How many?
the large ones, 5.
10 of them?
5?
15?
5? 5 large ones. Is that
Front
fair?
and back, 5?
5 in front and back, that's
I
5.
can do 5.
Yeah, and that, cause long as you study, when people come in without cards, I know they haven't studied, so. Some of you may do well without studying, but it's a good thing if you, 5, that's good. I'm glad you asked that question. 5 index cards, back and front. If you're a little over by 2 or 3 cards, I won't complain. But then I know you're studying harder, okay? So yeah, so 7 through 14 is the, I believe, chapter 7 through 14.
The one that's due next week, it says to put the more details. Do you want it just for the recovery page, or you want the whole Excel table? 'Cause I know we're also.
Just so clear.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good question. Yeah, okay. So for lab 14, you're gonna pick 3 cards, and you're gonna do Excel formulas. And here's the trick. Don't write in numbers for your formulas, because I take off points for that. And why do I do that? Is because, and most of you who've done it did it right, but I like you to refer to the cell. Anytime you type in numbers, there's a chance that you will make errors on your job, and that can get you into big trouble. So just click on the field that you're putting the formula for. When I'm talking about the payment formula, right? It's payment, and then you click on the percentage, and then you comma, click on the interest rate, comma, and then click on the total amount, whatever that's it. Don't try and type individual numbers in there, because I've seen people do that, and some of the students who've done that got it wrong, and that's what we don't want to do. We want to just refer to a cell. There are times when you do have to type in formulas, but they are very complicated ones. You know exactly what you're typing in. But for this one, yep. So, any other questions? Okay, all right. Take it easy.
So on the thing though, it said to use the payment function, and
Yeah.
it pulls up the stuff and it has you write in the numbers.
Who does? What-
Like it said on the PowerPoint to go into the function, and then it asks for the numbers.
You're putting the rate, but I mean, when you click on the actual cells,
See, this is how it pulls up.
yeah, but it will refer to the cell. That's usually.
Because this is how it looks.
Yeah, you click on the cell,
or-
right, you click on the cell.
This is how like it pulled up for me.
No, it's not supposed to look like that. You're supposed to pull on the, you click on the actual cell.
Oh, because like that's what the directions told me to do. I
Well,
thought.
no, because some people were without me telling them, they were referring to the cell. In the directions, you can click on the cell.
Oh,
And
'cause
when you pull up that form, that function,
Mhm.
function tool, you can click on the cell from there.
I think because I
You don't
tried to
have to
follow
type
the
in.
directions.
Yeah, the directions say use the function, but you don't type in the function. You pull it up again. Let me show you. You get access. You have to. You're in the cell. You're right. Yep. The function. No, the function is the. This is the function.
Yeah,
Right here. Look, no. That's it.
I just went here.
Yeah, no, that's right here. So you click on that, and then you choose the function you're trying to. payment functions, yep, you were there at the top.
Was, oh,
Right
that's because I was looking down where it was before.
Yeah, so here. You click on,
Oh, okay.
you see that, and then you, see that? And for here, same thing.
No, I just, okay.
You click on the various